I'm over cranky Popovich. I think they're an old, tired team. I think the Rockets are a blast to watch. I'm saying it's over. It looks over. Am I overstating it?
You're not. I mean, I fell into the trap just like everybody else. Best offensive team against the best defensive team. But as we've come to learn, the regular season in the NBA means nothing. Absolutely nothing. There are so many mismatches out there. And I thought Baron Davis, who was working for Turney last night, did a great job of pointing out the fact that LaMarcus Aldridge is so lost on defense that it affects his offense. Like, he looked soft. He looked like he didn't want to be out there, didn't want the basketball. And it's the perfect matchup for the Houston Rockets. It's a terrible matchup for the Spurs, who their effort to get younger, here's what they did. Last year, they were too old. They had Tim Duncan, 40 years old. So they get rid of Tim Duncan. He retires, and they replace him with Pau Gasol, who's 36 years old, right? They are modestly younger. And you know, Kristine's talking about Khloe Kardashian. I mean, the real secret to James Harden was he dumped Khloe Kardashian, right? Last year, he was in the offseason hanging out with Khloe. He came in fat, out of shape, and it hurt him at both ends of the
You're blaming him being fat on Khloe?
Yes.
Yeah, he was worried about his brand. He was worried about Twitter. He's worried about Instagram instead of worrying about getting ready to have a great season. This year, start to finish, He's frankly the best player in the NBA. He's had the best season in the NBA. He would have been my MVP, even though they're going to vote for Russell Westbrook. So there is precedence for getting rid of Khloe Kardashian and improving. I just don't know if it's in this short of order for Tristan.
Okay, so this one of these things that drives me crazy is for LeBron, and I felt this for years, he's not really competing against the league. He's kind of now competing for like legacy and history. Like, his decisions now are, I'm going to blow everybody away with stats, but I'm ultimately going to be judged with Kareem, Kobe, Magic, Michael, just on titles. So we get into this thing every year is, can he flip a switch? Can we now acknowledge LeBron's the best flip switcher in the league? Their defense last night was sensational for them.
Yeah, but I don't think that's any different for LeBron. I think it's the rest of the team. The rest of the team really locked in defensively. You know, like, he can't guard five guys.
Right.
So I agree with you. He's a flip switcher, and this is what he's been kind of pacing himself for all season, which is big games. He gets ready. He plays like the Boston game late in the season, where he exerted his dominance. Hey, we're better than you. Then they position their team to avoid the Washington Wizards, at least in the semifinals, because they're young, and though they're not deep, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
So now you got a Toronto team who last year, Chris Broussard, who's going to join you later, shared this stat with me. They lost a couple of games to the Raptors. And at the end of that series, there was still a 15-point differential between the two teams, even though they lost a couple of games.
Yeah.
So when they want to, they know they're better. They had 8 days off. The untold story of LeBron James is not the diverse skill set, okay? We all know that. It's not that he can guard almost any position. It's not that that he has learned how to win games. It's that he's learned the different parts of his body to have the best condition. He's the best conditioned athlete, and he understands how to train for the right moments, how to pace himself, how to take days off, and how to be ready so that when he does flip the switch, his body will react. Because everybody wants to flip that switch in the playoffs. You started with that. The difference is he has a different gear ready. He has a different level of energy ready. And then last night was the first time his teammates really bought in defensively. And
Kyrie
really
was aggressive last night.
Kyrie was, I mean, to me, he's the best finisher at the rim for a point guard since Rod Strickland. It's almost unblockable shots, just creative finishes with his right, with his left hand. What he does with the basketball, frankly, we're all infatuated with Steph Curry because of the two-ball dribble and all the stuff he does, and he's great. I mean, he does things that other people haven't done. But the finishes at the rim, no one I've seen do it better. This is like old-school New York City basketball. Those guys that couldn't shoot could all go off and put it up off the window. You know, the Earl the Pearl Monroe would spin and throw it off the window. That's what he is, and then you combine it with the fact he's a very good three-point shooter, and LeBron trusts him with the basketball so that LeBron will play without it sometimes.
By the way, odd, random Rod Strickland note, he threw up before every game.
Threw up before every game.
Bill Russell and Rod Strickland. Yeah, it is bad for your teeth.
Yeah, Gary Payton was famous for putting down his last beer, going to shoot around, napping all day, and going out and giving you 20 and 10. Rod Strickland threw up. Everybody's got a thing. Whatever your thing is, don't screw it up.
Okay, so we do know it's empirical that Russell had 11 titles, Wilt had 2. Teammates matter. We know that Michael Jordan, no titles without Pippen. Teammates matter. Chris Paul gets beat up. But here's what I know to be true, and not even LeBron does this. His field goal percentage, his points, and his three-point percentage go up in the playoffs. J.J. Redick disappears. A lot of B guys disappear. Chris Paul gets better in the playoffs. That's not arguable. He's a great player. The second thing is I have his career data in the playoffs. Get out of the win category. Get into the numbers, averages. He's a hell of a player.
No disagreement.
He takes a beating when the Clippers lose. I'm going to make this argument. We have overstated Blake Griffin from the day he arrived. He's never made an all-defensive team. He's an average passer. Despite his 44-inch vertical, he's not a great shot blocker. He shot 38% outside of 10 feet this year. By the way, not a rookie, not a kid. He's now an NBA veteran that plays basketball, shoots for a living. He shot 38%. He's the worst free throw shooting superstar in my life that's not a center.
LeBron didn't shoot free throws very well this year. I might want to point out.
But
See,
I mean,
you're putting all the blame on Blake, who didn't play in the last three games,
by the way,
right?
missed his entire rookie season to an injury. Last 2 years injury. He's an injury-prone guy who can't shoot, and we always blame the wrong guy in that roster.
Look, I think there's a substantial portion of the blame to put on Blake Griffin, although he didn't play. And when he doesn't play, it exposes the fact that I don't think you can win a championship starting J.J. Redick at the 2.
Yeah.
And I'm almost positive you can't win a championship starting Luke Richard and Bob Mute at the 3. and look, the big thing is the construction of this team is for a foregone era. You talked about the Houston Rockets, and it's a mismatch in styles. If the Clippers were to play the Spurs at full strength, they can beat the Spurs. Why? Because the Clippers are beat with a traditional true point guard. Chris Paul is the best true point guard in the NBA. If I could play like anybody when I played, it would be like Chris Paul. Okay? Blake Griffin is the best true power forward in the NBA, and DeAndre Jordan is a true center, a shot blocker, and frankly, J.J. Redick is a true shooting guard, 2 guard. So they actually match up really well with the Spurs. The problem is this league has not just become about space and pace, it's become about hybrid players. Can you, 1, shoot to space the defense, as you point out with Blake Griffin, and 2, can you guard multiple positions? They don't have that, and as good as Chris Paul is, he's a true 1. He can't guard 2s and 3s. As good as Blake Griffin is, he can't play the 3, he can't play the center. DeAndre Jordan is good for really 2 things, dunking and blocking shots. So the league has passed them by. They've caught in bad matchups, and you're not wrong, but I don't think Blake Griffin gets the most blame. The most blame is in the construction of the team. They never had a quality small forward since Doc's been there, and that exposes the fact that J.J. Redick probably isn't good enough at your 2 guard, and then they're built for the foregone era of true position players, and then we don't have a great bench. It all comes to roost in the first round.
By the way, before we let Doug Gottlieb go, because he has a radio career of his own, the Doug Gottlieb Show, 3 to 6 Eastern, Fox Sports Radio and iHeartRadio, off to a great start. I don't buy that Boston Game 1 win. They're not going to shoot threes like that. I was watching that game, and I'm thinking, this is garbage. That's not even the way Boston plays.
19 out of 38 for 3. You don't think that's replicable?
I take literally.
That is the way they play. They play small ball on you. They'll play. They find a way to Marcus Smart. Everybody wants to fight Marcus Smart and Jay Crowder, so they get in your brain. Avery Bradley's a great defender. When he makes shots, they become hard to guard. And Isaiah Thomas off the ball screen, I thought Al Horford played exceptionally well. And then you got to credit Brad Stevens, who at the very right moment didn't play Jaylen Brown, the rookie, until the 4th quarter. He comes in, hits a 3, shuts down Bogdanovich. I disagree with you. That is the way they play, and it also exposed the fact that the Wizards, when Markieff Morris went down with an injury, they were only up 3 at the time in the 2nd quarter. But the Wizards are not deep. And though the Celtics starting 5, the Wizards starting 5, you would take ahead of the Celtics starting 5.
No question.
But one guy goes down, much like the Clippers. One guy goes down, and other weaknesses get exposed, specifically the lack of bench. I actually think that is the way Boston plays. I think that's going to be the best series. That's going to be the 7-game series. And I feel like the mismatch series is Houston in terms of style. They'll lose a couple games because they won't shoot that well. And then we see that Cleveland, when they want to, is far better than Toronto. And Golden State's going to dominate Utah.
Bad.
Because, well, look, Utah can't score at the 5. And so that allows Draymond Green to play center. And George Hill is limited at point guard. They're best at the 2 and the 3. That's actually where Golden State is best defensively, at the 2 and the 3.
Doug Gottlieb's got a radio show. It's called, coincidentally, the Doug Gottlieb Show. Good seeing you, Duggar.